Hello, hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good! And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good! Okay, well let's learn English together. And alright people, we're here. It's alright, tell the ex-welders and the ex-firemen that there's no need to panic. We're here and we know what we're doing. So, yesterday we saw that Enid was about to take her life by the scruff of the neck and give it a good shake. Yes! She was preparing to go home and put Keith in his place. Keith's been bullying people for years, but now I think that Enid's about to reassert her authority. As for us, we're going to run through the new or possibly new vocab that we heard yesterday from the conversation I had with Enid. So, if you're all ready, you are all ready, aren't you? Good! In that case, let's make a start. Well, where should we start? Well, I don't know. Why don't we start at the beginning and work towards the end? How does that sound? Yes, it is a pretty good idea. Thanks. All right. Well, for a start, the new vocab started before Enid even made an appearance, didn't it? Yes, we saw a word which might be new. Then again, it might not be new. I can't remember. What I do know is that if it's not new, it's been an awfully long time since we saw this word. Chilly. And what does it mean? It just means a little bit cold. We know the verb to cool, don't we? Yes, that means to make something cooler, to make something less hot. And the same is true of the verb to chill. But the verb to chill is stronger. So they're basically the same idea, the same action, but cool is level 1 and chill is level 2. And from the verb to chill, we get the adjective chilly, which is another way of saying that it's cold. If the weather is chilly, it's cold and uncomfortable. Still, when was the last time that you felt comfortable when the weather was cold? Never mind, let's carry on. Aha, a circumstance. I was talking about a circumstance, so what does that mean? Well, circumstances are the facts and conditions connected to an event. If there is a traffic accident, the police try to ascertain, try to find out the circumstances that led to the accident. What things contributed to the accident? What was the weather like? What speed was the car traveling at? Was the driver paying attention? Was the driver sober, or had the driver had a couple of beers? All of these facts, these conditions connected to the accident are circumstances connected to the accident. What about the circumstances of Elvis's death? Well, I'm not going to tell you. After all, this is a family show. And besides, who told you that he was dead? And why did you believe them? What? Don't you read the newspapers? So there, no more silly questions. Of course he's not dead. What an idea. Okay, so what else did we hear? Well, we heard the adverb appropriately, didn't we? And we've seen that before several times. Although I think the last time we saw it, we were looking at the adjective appropriate. Anyway, the two ideas are completely connected. One is the adjective and the other is the adverb, the way of doing something in a way which the adjective describes. Okay, so what is appropriate? Appropriate is a synonym for fitting. It's all to do with correct behavior. Appropriate behavior is behavior which is suitable for the circumstances.
First things first, the napkin, never called the serviette. Take it and place it on your lap with the crease folded towards you. And next comes the actual drinking tea. Always loose leaf tea, please, so you'll need to use a tea strainer. And when it comes to stirring our tea, we go back and forth in a 6-12 motion, rather than round and round, creating an awful racket, splashing, and any sugar that you have added in will just sit in the bottom rather than dissolving.
If you go to a wedding, for example, people expect you to dress appropriately. You should wear nice clothes, a shirt and a tie perhaps, or a nice suit. People don't expect you to go to a wedding wearing a vest, shorts and flip-flops. That wouldn't be appropriate. When you meet the Queen, act appropriately. All right, let's move along. Now, we had the idea of sorting something out. Enid was talking about sorting out a mess. Well, sorting out two messes, actually. Now, what's a mess? A mess can be a collection of dirty or untidy things. Your parents might tell you to tidy your room because it's a mess. After I make bread, the kitchen is normally a mess, but we can also use the noun a mess to talk about a confused situation, a situation which is full of problems. We could say that when we went on holiday, half of the people booked a flight to the wrong city, and so when we arrived, everything was a mess. Half of the people were missing, nobody knew what was going on. It was a mess. Now, when Enid was telling us about the two messes she had to sort out, the two messes that she had to try and bring order to, the two messes that she had to resolve, straighten out, deal with, well, think about the problems. One was a problem, a mess, which was to do with untidiness. Keith had made a mess of the kitchen, and the other mess, the mess about the psychologist and the missed appointment, was the other sort of mess. It was a confused situation with people not knowing who was where and when and who was coming and going. But as we heard, she sorted out the mess in the kitchen, and then she decided that she didn't need to sort out the mess with the psychologist, but instead of that, she needed to sort Keith out. Okay, and what else did we hear? Well, we heard the verb to remind again, and we all remember that when we tell people to remember something, then what we're doing is reminding them. Think about your phone or your diary or your computer. You can make a note for yourself to remind yourself of something. In your diary, there's probably part of every page which has a small box marked reminders. That's where you write notes for yourself so that you don't forget. Do you have a fridge in your kitchen? Yes, you probably do, don't you? And is your fridge covered in little sticky notes with messages on them? Okay, now what are those little notes for? What is the purpose of those little notes? They're reminders, aren't they? You made a note of something and stuck it on the fridge door so that when you go near the fridge, you see the note and it reminds you to buy some flowers for your girlfriend or get some more milk or phone your dad. It could be anything. You make a note to remind yourself or someone else not to forget something. When we saw Enid, I asked her to tell us what happened, but here's the thing. So many things had happened to her that she couldn't remember what she last told us, so she asked me to help. She asked me to act like one of those little bits of paper on the fridge and remind her of what she had to tell us. She wanted me to prompt her, to remind her, to show her what she'd last told us, so that she would be able to remember, that's all. She asked me to act like a sticky note. Then we heard how Enid's plans had gang agley, which is just the way that the famous Scottish poet Robert "Rabbie" Burns put it in his poem, To a Mouse on Turning Her Up in Her Nest with the Plough, November 1785. Now that's a turn up for the books, isn't it? A poet who isn't afraid of physical work. Blimey! Now this is a photo of Robert Burns. And this is a picture of a more modern poet. Yes, well, quite different really, aren't they? Of course, Keats was English and dying of tuberculosis, so that might explain why he looks like that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. What Burns means was that all good plans can go wrong. It doesn't matter if they're good plans, that's no guarantee that they won't go wrong. And it's not important if the plans were made by mice, unimportant small animals, or men, more important bigger animals. It's not important who makes the plan. It could be the plan from the brain of a drunk gibbon, or it could be a plan from the brain of the most intelligent person alive. They could still both go wrong. And that's what Enid was saying. Her plans, just as Rabbie Burns said they could, went wrong. According to Enid, things went avocado form, which is just Enid getting confused. This is where she got the wrong end of the stick. What she meant was that things had gone pear-shaped, which is what the British say when things go wrong. When things start to go sideways, then they're going pear-shaped. All right, so what else did we hear? Well, we saw the verb to confirm, but that's nothing new, is it? To confirm something is when we establish that what we thought is true is actually true. If I think, for example, that your name is Gordon Guder Freunded Linkenfair, then I can check that I'm right. I can ask you to confirm this. I can ask you to confirm that what I think is true. If I don't know your name, then I'll ask you a genuine question. What's your name? But if I think that I know your name, and I think that your name is Gordon Gruger Freunded Link Link Fair, then instead of asking a genuine question, I'll ask you a question for confirmation. Is your name Gordon Gruger Freunded Link Link Fair? With this question for confirmation, I'm telling you that I think I know your name, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm asking you to confirm it. Now, Enid was talking about receiving a message confirming her appointment with the psychologist. And there, it's a slightly different idea. Not very different, but slightly different. Here, we're saying that a provisional appointment or agreement has been made definite. It's a two-stage process, the same as with a credit card. Step one is when you give the shop assistant your credit card, but that's just step one. Maybe this credit card isn't yours. Maybe someone stole this credit card. And so we get step two, the confirmation. You have to confirm, you have to reinforce the belief that this is your card by signing your name or giving a secret PIN code. You confirm that you want to buy this thing. The psychologist confirmed that they're waiting to see Enid at the time agreed. Of course, Enid couldn't go, but that's neither here nor there. And on we go. Enid told us that Keith lost his rag, he lost his temper, he flipped his wig and he freaked out. What do all these mean? Well, they all mean the same thing. Keith became angry. That's all that they all mean. They're just synonyms for becoming angry. Did your dad lose his temper when you told him about your maths results? Yes, he lost his rag. And then he told my mum and she flipped her wig. And then they told my grandparents and they freaked out too. I tell you, my whole family hit the roof. Hit the roof. There's another one. Now, the next one is one I really like because I realized years ago that a certain Hungarian noun is obviously connected to this one. The verb is to run amok. And all it means is that someone runs about the place like a loony, behaving in an uncontrolled and uncontrollable manner. It came into the English language from the Portuguese language, and it came into the Portuguese from the Malay word amok, which means rushing about in a frenzy. Okay, so we know what it means, and then we get the Hungarian version, amokfutó, which we would translate as, a nutter, a loony, somebody who's running around uncontrollably like a lunatic. I just think that this is really nice. A word from the Malay language morphs into the Portuguese language, and from there, who knows how or why, it turns up in English as a verb and in Hungarian as a noun. It's nice. I like that. Okay, last one and then we're off. Enid mentioned another few words which are connected to the same idea, didn't she? She said something about Keith being in a frenzy and spoke about him going berserk. Now, both of these ideas are the same basic idea as someone running amok. A frenzy is a state of uncontrolled excitement or behavior. The sort of thing we see when somebody is running amok. And when someone goes berserk, they become out of control with anger or excitement. Same thing, isn't it? All right, and on that nice, calm, peaceful idea, it's time for us to part for the day. Yes, it's that time again. Time for us to part. I'm off home for a coffee and a bite to eat. And as for you lot, well, you know, don't you? Yes, there are probably chores waiting for you. Is the dishwasher full? Yes. Are the dishes clean? Yes. In that case, what are you waiting for? Empty it. Put the dishes away. Help your parents or whoever you live with by doing something before they ask you to. Get into their good books. Do what you have to do without being asked. All right, and after that, think about the animals. Has anybody played frisbee with the llamas today? No! Well then, maybe it's time you did. Whatever you end up doing, people, have fun while you're doing it. And if you're playing frisbee with the llamas, remember to put some Ed Langer on the Bluetooth speaker. They love that stuff. I'll see you all tomorrow. And you all know what day it's going to be tomorrow, don't you? Yes, of course you do. And you're darned right that it's not going to be Tuesday. See you tomorrow, people. See you later. www.mediaclick.hu. Bye.